Hello everyone, it is April and today I'm going to be sharing with you my summer TBR. These are the books that I am so looking forward to reading this summer. Now I will say, okay, I do tend to gravitate towards scary books in the summer. I don't know why. You'd think that that would be like a fall Halloween thing. I definitely continue that trend into the fall months, but there's something about the summer. I read more horror in the summer than any other season. Odd. Let's dive into the books I'd like to read. Before we dive into the TBR, I did want to share some glasses with you. Zinff was kind enough to send me a couple of pairs of glasses. This is not sponsored, but they did send free glasses. So I want to share the two pairs that I got. And also I'm gonna share a little fun little promo for you guys. So first of all, we've got, I think the pair I'm gonna wear today, this is Delicate-Tortoise. Delicate-Tortoise. Let's see, what do you think? I feel like they look a little bit like my last pair of glasses. I like that they have no real rim here. You know what I mean? It's like kind of translucent. I think that looks really good. I like them. So these are Delicate-Tortoise. And then I thought it would be really good to do something out of my comfort zone. So I picked these ones. These are the Feline-Cat Leopard Gold glasses. I think they're so much fun. They're so out of my comfort zone. I would never have chosen these in the past, but I'm 40. I'm ready to have something fun in my life. That said, I think I'm gonna wear Delicate today. Barry and I are heading out to get some Father's Day stuff for my dad. So I think I'm gonna wear these. Trusty, you know, staple. But I did want to let you know that I've got a little promo code for you. If you go to Zinff and you use the code April, you can get 50% off of the frames and 20% off of the lenses. The two glasses that I chose will be in the description box below. Hope you will go over and check them out. Thanks, Zinff, for sending these over. And they don't fall off of my face. The other ones I had, I just looked down and they'd fall off. These are sturdy. Yes, needed. Into the TBR. So we're gonna start with three books that I don't have in front of me here. The first is a book that's going to be sent to me by publishers. And then the next two are books I pre-ordered. Oh, so excited. The first book is my most anticipated book for summer. This is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. Grady Hendrix wrote my favorite horror novel of all time, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Wonderful book. And in this book, we're following final girls. In particular, we follow Lynette, who is a final girl, which means that she survived a massacre, and she was like the only one to have survived. She meets on a regular basis with, I believe, 5 other women who were final girls, and they have been a source of comfort for one another for years and years on end. Unfortunately for all of them, someone is out there willing and ready to bring these women down. I'm assuming that they're going to get, you know, violent threats. I don't know. All I know is that Grady Hendrix is like the king of horror in my mind. Move over Stephen King. That's how much I love him. That's how much. So that one is coming out in July. Next is a book that I have pre-ordered. It's called False Witness by Karen Slaughter. And it's been a long time since I've read a Karen Slaughter. This is a standalone for her. And in this book, we follow a woman named Leigh. And Leigh is a lawyer. She's doing pretty well for herself. She has a relatively normal life. Her firm has decided to defend a man, a very wealthy man. He has been accused of rape. And she goes in to meet this man, I believe in prison, and recognizes that she very much knows him. And he really knows her, and he knows a secret that she has been harboring for her entire life that, you know, stems from her childhood trauma that she experienced in that time of her life. and she doesn't want that getting out, and so she feels obliged to take the case. She feels obliged to work with this man, and it's this very dangerous game that these two people are playing. It sounds wonderful. Karen Slaughter will do it very well, I am sure. That one also comes out in July. And finally, the last book that I pre-ordered is Hairpin Bridge by Taylor Adams. Now, I really loved No Exit. That's a really good winter book. This book follows a woman whose sister has died very suddenly. The cops are saying that she jumped to her death, that she reached a bridge, she jumped, and it was suicide. Now, our main character knows that that just isn't true, and there are many little clues along the way when she traces her sister's actions in the last few hours of her life. It really became apparent that she wasn't trying to commit suicide, that something strange was going on here. And there is a policeman involved who met her sister on the night of her death. And she thinks this guy has something to do with her sister's death. So I'm really eager to read that one. That one is coming out in June. The rest of the books I have. Now, most of these are, I'd say most of them are thrillers. It kind of depends, but most of them are new releases. So we've also got The Other Passenger by Louise Candlish. I've never read her before. I think I have her other book on my shelves, Our House. I'm sure she's written quite a few, but I've never read her before. And The Other Passenger follows a woman who takes the ferry every single day. That is how she gets from her home to the mainland, I believe. And every day she sits beside her neighbor Kit. They have like a friendly conversation, then they move along their merry way and go to work. One day Kit doesn't show up on the ferry, and he is reported missing by his wife. And then suddenly the police are asking our main character repeatedly what is going on, because there are people that were passengers on the ferry who saw our main character and Kit arguing very soon before he disappeared. And, you know, she's just trying to defend herself. She thinks she's innocent, completely innocent. But maybe they're not. It sounds like a lot of fun, and I'm ready to dive into some new thriller authors to see, you know, you never know when you're going to find a new thriller author favorite. So I'd love to read that. I should mention that this is coming out in July as well. I would also absolutely love to read 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard, who you know I absolutely love. Love her work so much. 56 Days follows a couple who are very newly formed right before lockdown, like COVID lockdown in Ireland. They met at a supermarket. They meet at the grocery store, they're flirting, they're like, this could be something serious. This could be the love of my life. And when lockdown fully forms and people realize it's not just going to be like a 2-week stint and it's going to be for the long haul, they decide very suddenly to move in together. And at the end of the lockdown, when people are emerging from their homes, one of the people in this couple is dead, and you find out what happened along the way. It sounds like so much fun. I think this is the first COVID related story that I will be reading, and I think it sounds like a lot of fun. And Catherine Ryan Howard is just always good. Next is a horror book that I think would be genuinely perfect for summer. This is The Elementals by Michael McDowell. Now, this is his most well-known, well-loved horror book, I would say. And this follows a family that get together every summer, and they have these summer homes. I think there are 3 of them. 2 of them are occupied by the family, and the other one is left unoccupied because it is filled with sand. And I think the children in this family go and venture over to this unoccupied home and discover that it might be very twisted, it might be evil, And I just think that sounds like so much fun. And I think I read one book or the start of a series by Michael McDowell and it was fine, but I'm ready to read some of his really well-known books. And this is the one that everyone talks about. So I'd love to read The Elementals. I'd also love to read another horror book that is coming out in September. So I'm sorry to say you're gonna have to wait for this one, but I don't. This is The Haunting of Leigh Harker by Darcy Coates. I'm really starting to get into Darcy Coates. She writes haunted house stories that are almost cozy to me as a strange person who finds ghosts comforting, you know. So The Haunting of Leigh Harker follows a woman who lives in suburbia, and she's lived in her suburban home for years. Nothing's happened. And then all of a sudden she is being visited by a ghost. This figure will stand at the end of her bed and just watch her. And so she can't sleep. She's really struggling to sleep. And she essentially needs to find out why the ghost is here and stop the ghost somehow. Get the ghost out of her home. And it's meant to be really creepy, and that sounds wonderful for the summertime. Especially, oh my gosh, thunderstorm me and this book. Like, perfect date. Next is a book that is coming out at the very end of June that I cannot wait for. This is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. So Survive the Night follows a woman. She's a young woman. She's in university. And she's a part of this ride program. It's, I think, November 1991. And she is headed home, I think, for Thanksgiving. And she gets a ride with this guy named Josh. And our main character, Charlie, is ready to go home, but she's bringing with her a lot of pain, a lot of grief, because her best friend recently was murdered by a campus serial killer. So far, 3 women, I believe, have been murdered by this guy. And her best friend happened to be one of them. So she's in this car. And Josh is saying, you know, I'm going home because I need to take care of my, you know, ailing father. And as he's telling his story, there's just bits and pieces that don't add up to her. And as she goes along the drive, the ride of her life, she realizes, oh my gosh, I think this guy is the campus killer. And she has to survive the night. Yes. Yes, sign me up. I'm ready. Next is a classic, very much an Australian classic thriller. This is Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay. This is a tiny little thing. It's been on Summer TBRs before, and I don't quite know why I haven't picked it up, but I would love to pick it up. This follows a boarding school, like a ladies' boarding school at the Appleyard College for Young Ladies. That sounds lovely. It's 1900, and they decide it would be really splendid to have a little picnic. They go to Hanging Rock, I believe, to have a picnic, and 2 of the girls disappear. They vanish, and over the course of this book, you find out what happens to them and the lead up to the vanishing, and that sounds wonderful to me. Another horror book that rivals it is Summer of Night by Dan Simmons. I've heard a lot of people say that if you didn't love it, which I didn't, if you didn't love it, you should pick up Summer of Night. So here I am. The only thing is it's enormous. It's not as big as it. However, oh my gosh, look at the font. The type is so small. I'm scared, but also excited. So Summer of Night is about this group of kids. It's the summer, they're on summer holiday. And at a certain time of evening, every evening, someone in this small town that they live in rings a bell. And everyone in the town knows when that bell rings, you go home and you don't leave your home until the next day when, you know, the sun comes up. That's when you can leave, because there's something outside killing people, some sort of monster, some sort of evil. And we follow a group of kids fighting evil for that summer. And that just sounds like a lot of fun to me. 2 more books. The next is a book coming out in September that I got an ARC for. One of my favorite thriller authors of all time is Alice Feeney. This is her new one, Rock, Paper, Scissors. In this book, we follow a couple who are kind of struggling in the relationship in the sense that they're both workaholics, and they decide to spend their anniversary at a little getaway. They rent a cottage or something along those lines. They get away for the weekend to celebrate their anniversary. And every year, Mrs. Wright writes a letter to her husband, but she never has let him see the letters until this anniversary. This is the anniversary that he can read the letter. Now, the thing that makes this situation incredibly difficult is that Mr. Wright, happily married, unfortunately cannot recognize people's faces. He doesn't recognize his wife by her facial features. He recognizes his wife by how she acts, her voice, all of these other things. And so I'm assuming that the woman he's going on this little escapade with is not his wife, is some other lady. I don't know, but I'll find out and report back. I will not spoil anything, but that's Rock, Paper, Scissors. Would love to read that. And finally, we've got the new Kristen Mangan. This is Palace of the Drowned. She is a beautiful Gothic writer. I loved Tangerine. This one takes place in the 1960s, and we follow a writer who has had success in her past in writing. She's written a novel that was just met with wild success. Unfortunately for her, every book that she's come out with since hasn't been accepted the same way by readers, by critics, and she's just struggling. And she's had a little bit of a breakdown at her most recent book release. Didn't go so well. She had a little public breakdown, decides to leave for a little bit because sometimes you just need to get away. Unfortunately, she chooses Venice in the summer that Venice flooded. She is also there and meets a fan of hers, a big fan, and this fan kind of follows her around, and at first it's okay, and then over time it becomes really uncomfortable and it's not okay, and she starts to feel like this fan might have, I don't know, ulterior motives, like bad intentions. And it just sounds wonderful. And she writes tension between characters so beautifully that I just know it's going to be good. And those are the books that I am desperate to read this summer. They're all, well, I wouldn't say light because they're dark in nature, but they're all easy reads, I think, other than potentially Summer of Night that is going to terrify me. It will terrify me until I pick it up. Let me know in the comments below, have you read this? I'm so scared. I'm scared. I hope that you guys are doing well. Please let me know as well in the comments below what you're planning to read in the summer. I cannot wait. We're doing a lot of work on our house in the backyard. So I'm hoping by the end of summer, I'll have a nice little area to sit and read. And anyway, it's going to be a good little season. Hope you're doing well. I will chat with you very soon. Bye, guys.